It's here, team. Let's go. Here it is, team. The Arrma Kraton EXB Fish Scale 8S roller. There's been a lot of talk around it. There's been a lot of hype. Shout out to Horizon Hobby for getting this to my doorstep so quick. I'm loving it. This thing looks amazing. I love the matte black paint job on it. With these EXB stickers, good mix of gloss and matte. Looks beautiful. Wow. Look at these D-boot Copperhead 2 big block tires. New for the EXB. Let's take a gander at it from the top. Wow. Loving the roof guards. We all know those are important. Look at the details. Let's try to get you in close. This is just the initial take. You know we will definitely do the 360-degree walk around. Shout out to UAE RC Addicts for giving us that sneak preview and putting his brand on the line to make sure we all got to look at this. And man, it looked great in his video, and it looks even better in person. I am so excited to do this with you, team. Looking so sharp. I am loving this. Looking at it from the front, 23-inch wide stance. Same stance as the Outcast. I don't have the Kraton 8S, but I'm assuming it's the same stance width as well. One thing to call out right away is the front bumper. I really like the addition of that. And then we'll look what's behind the bumper and the support that's there when we look at the inside. But I am loving this versus that small plastic plate that they had there before. Actually, in a video I made about my 10 popular Arrmas, I complained about it on the Typhon as well. So I am loving that type of support and protection. It looks sick. Something to make note of on the front side before we move to the back is these beefed up steering links, 7 millimeters. Also, these rod ends are beefed up as well. I am really liking that. As we move through this EXB, you're gonna learn that they're trying to address a lot of end user complaints. And on a different part of the video, we'll go into what's new. Yeah, you can take a look inside there. These tires, they're bigger and they're more massive and they're thicker. And they look like it too. They feel awesome. This thing is looking sweet and mean from the front. I am loving it. This is looking mean from behind. I love it. Let's move on in. Rear sway bar, this is new. They also have one in front. Something to note about these suspension links, they're 8 millimeters now. The fronts are 7 millimeters, so they beefed those up. They also beefed up the rod ends as well. Something to call out with the shocks is a 6 millimeter stainless steel shaft. As you know, people were bending these things left and right, so they listened to some end user complaints. They beefed up the shock shaft. They actually did some other things on the inside of the shocks. We'll go into that in the what's new section. just loving the way they're steadily trying to make these improvements that end users were complaining about. These rear arms and the front arms are beefed up too, because as you know, people were making these things pretty much explode on impact, especially with some tougher bashing, right? Just getting air and landing. So we'll see how those work out as well. But man, I am absolutely loving it. One more look close. Let's keep moving on, team. Let's look at the bottom. I am loving the way this etched chassis looks. Something to call out is this skid plate from the bumper, offering some protection. Number one end user complaint on the chassis was bending it. Now this thing is 5 millimeters thick, 775 aluminum. We will see how it handles the bashing. And I'm going to call it out again. They're trying to address these end user complaints one by one with this EXB. I am loving the way this looks from the bottom. Very, very good looking. We'll see how this chassis holds up. Let's move on to the inside, team. Still got the standard clips you pull out and pop off. Look at it from the inside here. You can see that's where the electronics box is gonna go, and the receiver box is gonna connect the servo right here. You got the EXB center brace mount. You got center diff gearbox stock with 20 million diff fluid in there, 100K in the front and the back. I will be running a 39 tooth spur. That is the optional one. So we'll be removing this box here and putting that in there before we get going. The battery trays, make note that you can change the length. You have to unscrew a screw from the bottom and they move back. I'm loving the tower to tower brace here. Let's have a closer look. Not sure if this is new, the way these shock towers look from the top. I definitely like the way it's protected there. You got that brace, that's important for those top landings. Here goes that front sway bar here. And then here goes some extra protection now behind the front bumper, excuse me. Absolutely just loving that. Anytime you can have some type of brace and then some good spacing here in between the bumper and the front of the chassis, I'm loving that. And that way to get the electronics in here. One last look through. And we'll get into some size comparisons. The Kraton EXB versus the X-Max. Definitely a good head-to-head shot right there. I'm loving that. Measurement to note, 20-inch wheelbase for the Kraton EXB fifth scale. Also a 20-inch wheelbase for the X-Max. X-Max looks taller. X-Max does not have a wide stance or as wide a stance as a Kraton EXB. Definitely a great head-to-head shot. Kraton EXB 8S versus the Arrma Outcast 8S. I mean, you can tell the height's the same, the stance is going to be the same. The noticeable difference is the wheelbase. Outcast 17-inch wheelbase. As you know, it's a shorter wheelbase. Kraton EXB 8S, 20-inch wheelbase. Two sharp looking vehicles. Good size comparison right here. Let's keep moving. Before we get into the what's new portion and we cover what's on the box, I want to call out this adjustable ride height. It's in the instruction manual. So you can adjust the ground clearance based upon the terrain you're driving on. It shows you exactly where to adjust that on the shock. I wanted to make note of that before we kept moving forward. So we're going to go over some what's new information. You can find this on Arrma-RC. These are the tires that are new, the big block Copperhead 2s. Plus shock package. Here's a look at what's new on the shocks. High volume bladder, 6mm shaft compatible seal housing, 6mm steel shaft. I love that they're addressing the shock issue head on here. Good look at the existing versus the new. Here's a look at the beefy chrome steering links. 7mm now. They were 6mm before. I am loving that. Here's a look at the girthier rear suspension links. These are 8mm now. Here's the sway bars. Look at the new chassis right here. EXB front bumper. After going through the what's new portion, you can see that Arrma and Horizon Hobby are definitely trying to address a lot of end user complaints that were happening with the Kraton 8S and the Outcast 8S. I mean, people were bending those shock shafts, so they beefed them up. People were bending the chassis, so they beefed that up, right? I mean, there were a lot of different things that were going on. People were busting the rear arms, so they beefed those up. They beefed up the suspension links and the steering links. So they were definitely listening and watching. So now, team, with that, let's continue to move on and look at what else was inside the box. Some other important items that were inside the box. The ever so important instruction manual, stickers, technical pack. Here goes the receiver box and servo housing. They give two of them. I believe one possibly is bigger for a bigger servo. You're gonna have to check on the site for why they do that. And then these are for the shocks. I believe these are to limit the travel of the shocks, or they could be to replace something on the inside of the shock. I am not sure. So don't quote me on that. Look on the website. Ever so important is the two different motor mounts. You got the 49 series and then you got the 56 series, and this is based upon if you're gonna run a big block motor, right? One of those big Coke can motors, you're gonna run the 56 series. If you're just gonna run like the normal Spectrum Firma 8S motor, you're gonna use the 49 series motor mount. I am loving that they give you that option. And it makes sense why they made these tires bigger and beefier. They call them the big block Copperhead 2s. They include that big block motor mount. This is what's going in. It comes stock with the 47 tooth spur. I'm putting the 39 tooth spur in. And I'm loving that they include that. Here is the servo saver. Important thing to note. You could rock a 15T or 17T on the servo. They give you that option. The important tools. So we looked at the inside of the box. We looked at the outside and the inside, front, back, top of this vehicle. It's time to put the electronics in and get ready for this maiden voyage. So to change out the spur, you got to get this gearbox out, and it starts, well, there's many different ways to do it, I'm sure, but I'm gonna start by removing the center brace. lower one, so you got to remove that pin, and then you remove that pin in there, and then what you do is you can push the pin out. Now those clips are removed. You should be able to just to push that pin out. Yep, just like that. Boom. So it comes out. Same thing's done on the other. So to remove that gearbox out, I believe it's these 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was those 4 screws, and now you can see the dog bone, or excuse me, the drive shaft is already out back there. Should be able to pretty much move it around and finagle the gearbox out now. So now the gearbox is out, and we got to get to the inside of it. So it is these 5 screws right here, 3mm hex. So I got the 5 screws out. Should be able to pull it out just like that. And now you can see that's the inside of the center diff. Pop that off like that. And then we got to undo that screw right there and undo those 2, and then we will take the spur off. So I got that nut removed off of there. Then I removed those 2 hexes that were on there, and I believe I should just be able to pull this shaft out now. Yep, team, the shaft pulls out. It's tight, so you got to give it a little bit of a good tug there. All right, so I pulled the shaft out. I slid the 39 tooth spur on there. I'm gonna put some thread lock on, and we're gonna tighten it up. All right, now time to put my 5 screws back on. Put the cover back on the spur. We already got the nut on there, and then we'll pop the gearbox back in. Team, here are the electronics. This thing got here quick, so I'm gonna go with the Spectrum Firma 1250 kV motor that powers the current fifth scale line. We're gonna have the 49 series motor mount, 30 tooth pinion with a 39 tooth spur. We're gonna run the DX3 remote. We're gonna run the Spectrum Firma 160 amp ESC with the Spectrum S905 servo. That's what the electronics module looks like assembled, team, and the servo saver. Arrma RC has great videos on how to assemble the servo saver. And I do have plans for different motor, different configs, but this thing got here quick, like I said, and this is the system I had sitting around, so we're gonna throw it in. All right, team, got the motor in there. Pretty self-explanatory. You bolt the motor mount onto the motor, and then you got 2 screws right here, right? And then you have 1 screw on the bottom, and that will make sure that this motor stays in place. We got the 30 tooth pinion and the 39 tooth spur. Time to put the electronics module in. So that's what the electronics module looks like when it goes in. You got a spot right there. You got to make sure you lock up right there. That piece has to line up with that. And you get that connected right there. And everything is plugged up. If you do have an Outcast 8S, you can take your electronics module straight out of there and pop it right in there. That's what I did, team. So to fasten the electronics module, you got to go this screw, this screw, this screw, this screw, and that one. 2.5mm hexes. It's 4 of them. And you will fasten the electronics module in. All right, team. We got the electronics in there. We got the motor in there. To remind you, we got the Spectrum Firma stock 8S system running it. We got the 39 tooth spur in with the 30 tooth pinion. So really, really aggressive gearing. Definitely geared for top speed. To remind you, I'm putting this system in there for now because why? This thing got to my door quick and it's what I had readily available. So team, there's only one thing left to do. Let's take it for its first ride. All right, team. Arrma Kraton EXB 8S. Maiden voyage, team. Running out of daylight. Had to get it in for you guys. Wow, look at this gearing in here. Wow, 39 tooth spur. 30 tooth pinion. Let's get it warmed up. Look at that thing peel out. Oh goodness. Oh, that's hauling. We gotta turn up some brake here. Look at that thing go. Oh, I'm loving this team. Showed up at my door, wanted some daylight, was gonna wait till tomorrow, but I figured, oh man, I have to do it now. But look at that. Wow, that gearing is nuts. Whoa. I am loving the way that thing is running with this 39 tooth spur in there. Oh wow, it's feeling like a maniac. Uh-oh. Ooh, that motor is warm. Oh, that motor is warm with this gearing team. Woo! Oh, that motor is really warm. We're gonna put different gearing in and keep this run going. All right, team. I went home, I changed the pinion. Decided I want to figure out how fast this thing goes with a 39 tooth spur and a 26 tooth pinion. I also turned the punch settings up to 5. So let's see if we can get this thing real quick on a speed run, see how fast we can get it going. Wow. Oh wow, that is feeling good. Let's see what that was. Okay, that was 54 miles an hour, and that was even warmed up, and that was even all the way down. Hopefully this 1250 kV motor from Spectrum can handle this gearing. Let me trim it off a little bit. All right, one more time. Oh, got traffic coming in. Let's go. Wow. Oh, got traffic coming in. Hold on. Whoa. Oh, wow. Okay, that was 58 miles an hour. 58 miles an hour, team. That is tough. Wow. I am loving that. That's all for right now. We'll do other speed tests. I don't know how the gearing will last. So, let's take it into the field of play, team. Let's see how it is on grass. Oh, it's ripping. Oh, it's taking up earth. It's taking up the earth with it. Oh, I'm loving that. Oh, come across. Oh, it's handling nice. All right, let's see what it's worth a little bit, huh? EXB style. Let's see it. Let's see it, EXB. Ho, ho, ho. That's tough. That's tough. I guess we'll test it, huh? Let's send it back. Send it back down. Oh, we dug that wing in. Well, looks good. It's handling like a beast. Very satisfactory. Forgot to bring my temp gun with me. Let's see what it's worth again, huh? Ho, ho, ho. Whoa, that's a big boy up there. That is a big boy up there. All right, let's see what it's worth again. Oh, that's right on that rear. Oh, there it is, EXB? No way! Wow, and there it is, team. There it is. Team, there it is. We busted that rear A-arm, and I'm gonna tell you, it was not a good landing on my part. So, I mean, I don't know what kind of parts you can build with this thing being so heavy that's gonna absorb that impact, but there it is. We busted that A-arm. Team, I'm still loving this thing, but man, that thing popped. Team, the motor temps, really, really nice with the 39 tooth spur and the 26 tooth pinion. I wanted to update you on that. It feels really satisfactory with that gearing. Man. Team, as always, thanks for joining me on this unboxing and first run of the ever so anticipated and hyped Arrma Kraton 5th Scale 8S EXB. Man, this thing is absolutely impressive. To remind you, we had a 39 tooth spur in, and then we had a 30 tooth pinion in originally. Motor got hot. So I went and put a 26 tooth pinion in there, and that's what we ran out here today. You saw the speed test, it did 58 miles an hour, and I think it has more. More importantly, you see how it runs on grass? It was shredding the earth up. Definitely taking the earth up with it. I'm loving the way it handles. I'm loving the way the sway bars and the suspension feels. But team, you saw me do about 4 jumps. We broke this rear A-arm back here, okay? And I could take responsibility for the landing, but that's just what the test showed. Shock shafts are looking good from the rear. We'll do a clear after damage report when I get the vehicle cleaned up. But team, I am loving this, and you know there's gonna be a lot more to come. As always, I appreciate the time every time. Hit like and subscribe for more content like this.